All right, we are about to take an incredible journey. We're going way, way back, over 2,500 years, to see how Western philosophy was born. And you know what? It all started with just a handful of thinkers, a huge explosion of new ideas, and one deceptively simple question. Let's get into it.
So here it is. What is the universe really made of? I mean, it sounds like something a little kid would ask, right? But honestly, it's one of the deepest questions you can possibly ask. It's asking us to look past all the stuff we see every day, the trees, the sky, the water, and wonder, what's the fundamental thing underneath it all? Because think about it. 2,600 years ago, asking this was a huge deal. It was a total game changer. For the first time, people weren't just okay with the old stories about gods and monsters creating everything. They started wanting answers that made sense, rational answers. They started looking for natural causes to explain the natural world. This was pretty much the beginning of reason as we know it. Now, this revolution didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It kicked off in these busy port cities all around the Aegean Sea. I mean, this place was a crossroads of the world. You had all these different cultures and ideas bumping into each other. And it was here that guys like Thales of Miletus were exposed to all these new ways of thinking, which got them looking at their own world and asking, for the very first time, a really powerful question: why? And as soon as they started asking why, it immediately sparked the first great philosophical battle. Is everything we see, in all its insane complexity, really just made from one single fundamental thing? Or is it made from lots of different things? This was the epic clash between what we call monism, the belief in one, and pluralism, the belief in many. The first thinkers to really plant their flag were the monists. You might know them as the Milesians. They were totally convinced that behind all the chaos and variety of the world, there had to be just one single, unifying element holding it all together. The only problem? They couldn't quite agree on what that one thing was. And what's so cool here is how they reasoned their way to their answers. So you have Thales, and he picks water. Why? Well, it's incredibly adaptable, right? It can be a solid, a liquid, or a gas, and everything alive needs it. Made sense. But then his student, Anaximander, comes along and says, hang on, if everything is water, how do you get its opposite, like fire or dryness? He figured the source had to be something neutral, something boundless and undefined that he called the operon. Then Anaximenes chimed in and proposed air, arguing it could get denser to become things like water and rock, or get thinner and become fire. You can see them building on each other's ideas. It's amazing. Okay, so picking one substance was a good start, but it immediately led to a bigger problem. How do you explain the two-sided nature of reality? Because on the one hand, everything is always changing, right? It's in constant motion. But on the other hand, it's not total chaos. The universe seems to follow rules, it has patterns, there's an order to everything.
And this is where it gets really interesting. You have two guys, Heraclitus and Pythagoras, who both looked at this problem. They totally agreed that reality is all about constant change. Heraclitus famously said you can't step in the same river twice. He compared reality to a fire, always flickering, always transforming. But he believed this change wasn't random. It was guided by a cosmic intelligence he called the Logos. Then you have Pythagoras, yep, the triangle guy, who also saw constant change, but he was convinced the hidden order behind it all was purely mathematical. For him, the universe was basically written in the language of numbers. So this whole line of thinking, it starts building and building until it leads to one of the most radical, most brain-breaking ideas in the history of thought. A group called the Eleatics took that idea of monism, that everything is one, and they pushed it to its absolute logical extreme. Their leader, a guy named Parmenides, made this absolutely jaw-dropping claim. He said that everything you perceive with your senses, all the change, all the movement, the fact that there seem to be lots of different things, it's all a complete illusion. He argued that true reality is a single, unchanging, eternal thing, and the only way you can possibly grasp it is through pure, abstract logic. Your eyes and ears, they're lying to you. Now, you're probably thinking, that's a pretty wild claim. And it is. So to try and prove it, Parmenides' student Zeno came up with these brilliant little logic puzzles, paradoxes, that were literally designed to show that our everyday, common-sense ideas about the world are actually full of contradictions. Okay, check out his most famous one. For a chicken to cross the road, it first has to go half the way, right? Then it has to go half of the rest of the way, and then half of that tiny bit that's left over, and so on, forever. Since you can always divide the remaining distance in half, pure logic says the chicken can never actually reach the other side.
So what do you trust? Your logic, which says motion is impossible, or your eyes, which see the chicken cross the road just fine? For Zeno, the answer is easy. Trust logic. Your senses are unreliable. Man, Zeno's paradoxes were a serious challenge, but they didn't kill the debate, not even close. In response, a new wave of thinkers, the pluralists, came roaring back, insisting that no, the world is made of many things. And their comeback set the stage for maybe the biggest philosophical showdown of all time. So the pluralists fired back with a few different theories. You had Empedocles, who came up with the four classic elements we all know and love: earth, air, fire, and water. Then Anaxagoras took it a step further, suggesting there are tiny seeds of everything, little bits of bone, little bits of hair, all mixed together. But the idea that really stuck came from Democritus. He argued that everything is made of a huge number of tiny indivisible particles he called atoms. Sound familiar? But here's where the debate really heats up. To explain how all their many things created the ordered universe we see, the pluralists split into two camps. On one side, you have Anaxagoras. He argued there's a cosmic mind, or nous, that intelligently arranges all the little seeds with a purpose. It's a universe with a plan. But on the other side, you have Democritus. He said, no way. Atoms are just swerving around in a giant vortex, and they bang into each other by sheer random chance, forming everything we see. It's a universe of accidents. And this is the most important part of the whole story. In an incredibly short amount of time, these thinkers didn't just come up with some interesting ideas. They basically wrote the entire agenda for the next 2,500 years of Western thought. I mean, just look at how fast this all went down. We're talking about a span of only 200 years. That's it. From Thales just wondering about water, to Pythagoras finding math in the stars, to Parmenides denying reality, all the way to Democritus imagining the atom. It was this rapid-fire series of brilliant minds, each one setting up the pins for the next one to knock down. And that is the real takeaway here. Their specific answers, whether it's water or air or atoms, that's actually less important than the incredible enduring power of the questions they were the first to ask. They didn't just answer questions, they basically created the entire to-do list for philosophy. They set the terms of the debate for everyone who came after them. And what's really amazing is that this huge, sprawling intellectual agenda that they created, well, it can all be boiled down to just three fundamental branches of philosophy that they basically invented from scratch. First up, you've got metaphysics. That's the big question. What is reality? Is it one thing or many? Is there a purpose to it? Or is it all just random chance? Yep, that's their debate. Second, epistemology. How do we even know anything? Can we trust our senses, or should we only trust pure reason? That's the showdown between common sense and Zeno's paradoxes. And finally, all of this set the stage for ethics. Because if the universe itself has a rational order, as guys like Heraclitus believed, well, doesn't it make sense that we ought to live our lives rationally, to be in tune with it? Which brings us right back to today. I mean, think about it. Is reality at its core one unified quantum field, or is it a multiverse of many worlds? Can we trust our experimental data, or is there a deeper mathematical reality that our senses just can't grasp? Is the universe a product of blind evolutionary forces, or is it guided by some kind of intelligence? These aren't new questions. They are the exact same questions first asked 2,600 years ago, and we are still grappling with them today.